Well, another week is in the books, and it's been a week. I sat down, had my first recording session with my friend and neighbor, George, who's going to be my partner in this upcoming project, as yet untitled. It was a fascinating discussion that the two of us had with each other. And I look forward to sharing it. I don't know if it's going to become the first episode or not. I really don't know. I think it may be more meta to just like start with something more, I don't know, like midstream, and then bring this back later as an origin story. I think it's just interesting stuff. These are the things that you think about when you're busy brainstorming ideas for what do you call the damn thing. But it was a fascinating discussion. And before we actually started it, George was listening to one of my Trent Takes On episodes. Actually, it was the one from last week. And he was curious about, because I had told him that the idea behind this show when I started it was to leave a time capsule for my kids. And his question was, you talk a lot about politics. Why is that? And it dawned on me when he asked that question that I've never actually explained why I talk about politics in a time capsule for my kids. So I'm going to do that real briefly today on what should be a shorter episode. All right, let's get to it. When I started Trent Takes On during the pandemic, I think it was about anxiety and an approach. I had always wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to be a radio DJ, like a morning DJ in LA for a year. I was like, man, this is really interesting stuff, to do the wacky bits and deliver the news 4 days a week. And, you broadcast from like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day. I used to listen to this a couple of dudes called Mark and Brian, and they were the morning show on the radio station I listened to all the time. I think it was called KLOS. I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been a really long time. I don't even know if morning DJs still exist. Morning show people still exist. Anyway, I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to talk to people. So a podcast became something that was like, when it came out, I was like, wow, I need to do that so I can say whatever I want. I can, broadcast it whenever I want, and I can hit the entire world with it. Now, it's really hard to get reach, for the record. But I thought, man, that was great. What a great idea. But, it was technology to me sometimes feels like magic. It's beyond my mental ability to go, oh, I see how it is. I didn't grow up with a computer in the house. I grew up in the 80s when that was a privilege afforded only, the wealthy. I built my first computer in the mid 90s from parts we bought at Fry's Electronics in Orange County. And I've always been kind of blown away by the rapid expansion of technological advance. It's quick, and I'm still old school. I'm still kind of an analog guy in a digital world. So when I started this podcast, when I finally figured out how to do it and was inspired by my friends Brian and Jesse to just go for it, I started Trent Takes On recording in the closet in my bedroom. And I had recently lost my mom, and I realized that what I really missed was having discussions with her and having her information and having her point of view on things. But more than anything, I missed just hearing her voice. Now, honestly, how long are your kids going to listen to you? I don't know. I don't have any idea. I know that my oldest daughter, my adult daughter, listens to the show. And she likes it, and she like it's a way for her to have some sort of relationship with me, even if it's kind of one-sided, because she's busy living an adult life and doesn't get to talk to dad all the time. Although rumor has it she might be moving out here, which would just my heart almost exploded just thinking about it. Would be so amazing. So why do I talk about politics so much in this time, when it's kind of, like George said, it's going to be very dated? And the answer is yes, it is going to be very dated. I do put it out for everybody all the time, though. So not every episode was going to be evergreen from the beginning. But at the same time, I understand that this moment in time, this moment in history, these last, 8 years, 9 years now, are arguably the most important. This is a turning point, a pivot point in my lifetime that we haven't seen the likes of since Vietnam, since the civil rights movement in the 60s, since World War II. I see the current political climate as the ascendancy of a Christo-fascist movement, where a nationalist arm of our society has decided that they want to be A, isolationist, B, stringently Christian and enforce their Christian ideals on everyone, which is hilariously ironic, and withdraw from the rest of the world. And they don't trust the government to the point now where, or they've convinced a portion of our public that you can't trust the government, to the point where they elected an authoritarian strongman who says, I alone can fix it. I'm only going to be a dictator on day one. Shit like that. And then we place all of our power in this guy and this cult following that he has, who doesn't believe he can do anything wrong. He gets to lie nonstop about all the things that he's done, and people just eat it up. His cultists just eat up whatever he says. I see this moment in American history as a pivot point. We could lose it all. We could lose everything that almost lasted 250 years. Next year is the 250th year, our anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which is actually written, and the first signatures were on it on July 2nd, but the last ones were on July 4th. And I guess that's why we celebrated July 4th. It didn't even arrive, a copy of it didn't even arrive in England for, weeks. So England didn't even know until the messenger showed up. So July 4th feels arbitrary, but you have to pick a spot, right? I had to move a chair. This has been the most successful experiment in democracy in the history of the world. People have determined their leaders. The people, every election, every time you go to the ballot box, and I'm not even talking about just presidents. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about your representatives, your senators, your local reps, your state reps. Each state has its own way of doing things, but all the states combine to work out the federal stuff. I'm in California. Our state is progressive in its approach toward most things, but it's very corporatist in other ways. Businesses thrive in California because it's a great environment to work in a business, even though everybody complains about the tax rate all the time. You tax your business is too much. Well, that's because we want to provide services for the masses. And that's important. It's important that the state have revenue to do that. And so they do. And that's one of the rules in the way we've set up this democracy, that each state is its own little democratic piece. And then we unite them all to create the United States. You get to be independent while simultaneously being a part of something bigger. And this experiment in democracy has been fraught at times. It's sometimes difficult to just get things done, and people get frustrated by that. And it becomes exacerbated when people of cynical beliefs get in power and start fucking around with the mechanisms to make things work poorly, or to make things not work at all, or to, change the way change the maps that we vote on so that they're choosing who votes in what area and for which offices. That's called gerrymandering. It goes back to the early 1800s in Massachusetts. I see this as it is existential for the democracy. What is happening is President Trump has decided to usurp the power of the legislature, and they've handed it to him. They've basically said, okay, go ahead. The legislature is supposed to write laws, and then the executive is supposed to execute the laws. And one of the ways we set this up was the first Article 1, the legislative branch. That's where the money resides. That's where the power to tax, that's where the power to spend, all of that goes to the legislature. And every time you see a tax bill, tax bill, not as in something that you owe, but something that they've put forward to become a law. Those of us who grew up in the 70s and 80s got to watch Schoolhouse Rock, and we all know what a bill is and why it sits on Capitol Hill. And if you don't, YouTube that shit. It's timeless. It's fucking amazing. Schoolhouse Rock, everybody who works in government today should know this shit. Everybody who wants to participate in our society should know some of these things. It was also handy when you taught about math and English as well, just for fun. Schoolhouse Rock was great. The power to tax the public lies in the legislature. The power to spend that money lies in the legislature. And what Trump is doing now, is refusing to spend the money that was legally signed off on by the legislature and the prior president. And this is the way it works every time. You're working on that pre-existing budget until you pass a new budget. Well, the Republicans can't get together to pass a new budget, and the resolution that they did includes $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid, which is a program that I've talked about on the show, is important to a lot of people. 72 million Americans receive all of their health care from Medicaid, including members of my own family. I have private insurance. It fucking sucks. And all private insurance sucks. And if you sit there and tell me that it doesn't, I'm just going to tell you, you are high as a kite. Or if you actually feel like you love your insurance, the chances are pretty strong you've never used it. Trump is taking control of where the money goes and refusing to spend money on foreign aid, firing people without cause because they call it efficiency. They're going to cut a bunch of, they want to disassemble the Department of Education. All of these things were created by law. They were laws. They were created through the legislature. They were signed into being. And so that law exists. When you go and you tear that down unilaterally just because you feel like it, that's illegal. You're tearing down something that was legally constructed, and then you're demolishing it for whatever reason. What they've done to USAID is illegal. Blatantly, wildly illegal. Even though they say, well, we've wrapped it into the State Department. Even if you want to move it into the State Department, you have to pass a new law doing so. Or if you want to do away with the Department of Education, you can do that, but you have to pass a law doing away with the Department of Education. And they're not doing that. They're just doing it. And Congress, instead of saying you can't do that without our say-so, is allowing them to do it. And here's why. Because the Republicans on Capitol Hill want all these things to happen. They want the Department of Education to go away. They want Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security to go away. They want to live in a world where we don't have to tax anybody because we don't have anything to pay for with the government. And then we'll just have some figurehead doing, foreign affairs stuff. And we'll be isolationists and it'll all work out and we never have to have another election again and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? If you want to live in a world like Mad Max, that's where you're headed. With this, we'll just put this guy in charge because he won an election. And he won. I still can't figure out the fuck how. People were that mad. And now he's doing whatever the fuck he wants and acting like a king. Corruption in plain sight. And no one is standing up to him. And you see, this is how fascism grows. This is how it happened in the 30s in Germany. This is how it happened in the 30s in Italy with Benito Mussolini, who is really the father of fascism. Nazism is a little different, but it doesn't really matter. It's about taking the power away from the people, investing it only in the rich, the most powerful among us, and doing away with democracy. And all you need is your little army of brown shirts to execute your orders. And see, that's called history. Knowing that stuff is important. And what I think we're looking at right now is the potential of a repeat. If you look at the things that Donald Trump does on a daily basis, everything from currently crashing the economy to stopping all foreign aid, to abandoning Ukraine in the field, to starting trade wars with Canada, Mexico, and the European Union, our closest and longest allies, along with threats to annex things like Greenland, which is a territory of Denmark, which is voting for independence. They don't want to have anything to do with Donald Trump in the United States, aside from just being an ally. They want to be Greenlanders. They want to be their own sovereign nation. They don't want to speak English. They want to speak whatever language they speak. Do they speak Dutch there? I'm not even certain. I'm sorry, Dutch. Danish. Dutch is the Netherlands. Danish is Denmark. We threatened Panama. We're going to take back the Panama Canal. What? Really? We threatened to annex Canada as the 51st state on a constant basis. And when I keep saying we, it's Donald Trump. But nobody's standing up to him. Everything he's doing, from destroying the services that the American government provides, from the United States government provides services to people, including things like Social Security and the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, all of these things that supply goods and services for the people of the United States. They are firing so many people and laying off so many people and selling things off and canceling contracts and doing whatever they want with the money that they're breaking them so they no longer work, so that people don't have any faith in them anymore. And when you don't have faith in an institution, well, that's when they're going to privatize it and hand all that money off to hedge fund managers, to investment banks. And they're going to gamble with the money that all of us have put into this system our entire lives. That's what Social Security and Medicare are going to become. Privatized Medicare, you know what that is? That's the regular healthcare system. The one that everybody says, well, I like my insurance. No, you don't. You do not like your insurance, or you're not using it. If you're not using it, you don't know. Remember when Obama passed the Affordable Care Act and they set minimums on what your plans had to cover, and they said they made the mistake of saying if you like your plan you can keep it. People were like, ugh. And then those plans disappeared because the minimum coverage wasn't there anymore. So your cheap ass garbage insurance that didn't cover anything didn't exist. So you couldn't keep your plan. And so he ended up breaking a promise. You can't keep that plan anymore because it wasn't even a healthcare plan. It was trash. It was the equivalent of one of those subscriptions that you sign up for that you forget about and you don't use the service anymore, but they've been charging you $7 a month for the last 4 years. Yeah, that kind of thing. I see this as a moment in time that's important to talk about, because in the future, my kids, grandkids who are going to know Papi real briefly are going to look at their moms and dads and say, what did Papi do when Donald Trump tried to break the government, or succeeded in breaking the government, because this isn't finished yet. At least with this, they'll be able to say, here's what he was saying at the time. Something about a red bucket and cleaning up trash, and then all this stuff about how important it was to stand up to fascism. And how it's really hard to stand up to fascism in a place where it's not hitting yet. It's gonna hit here because it's gonna hit everywhere. That's the thing about fascism. If you ignore it, it just grows. If it's not around you, you're just like, well, it's not around me. And eventually it grows and it ends up in your front yard. And you didn't realize it, but there it was. First, they came for the blah, blah, blahs, and I said nothing because I wasn't a blah, blah, blah. And then they came for the blah, blah, blahs, and I said nothing because it wasn't a blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 part B. Imagine difference. I don't know the quote. But eventually they come for you. Eventually it always comes back to you. And you sacrifice your freedoms. You sacrifice your ability to speak out. You sacrifice your ability to move freely from one place to another. Like if I decided today I didn't want to live in California anymore, I want to move to North Carolina. I can do that. I don't need anybody's permission or nothing. But they'll take those things away from you. They'll change the way we work. They'll change the way we earn. They'll change the way we retire. They'll change the way we interact with each other. That's what fascism is. Control. Control, 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 so that you can just keep soaking up everyone's work, the labors of their work. And what's even worse than that is we live with this oligarchy, the oligarchs who are bros, tech bros. This is Trump's inner circle. They are going to replace us with artificial intelligence and robots because they don't need us. So your jobs are going away. One of the most common misconceptions about American manufacturing is that manufacturing has been falling off. Manufacturing is falling off. And they usually say manufacturing jobs. And in fact, manufacturing jobs done by humans have fallen off a great deal. But as far as the amount of stuff we manufacture in the United States, it's largely unchanged. The difference is who's doing the labor. It's not people anymore. It's automation, robots. It's all of these different technological advances that replace jobs. Artificial intelligence, ow, I just bit my cheek. Artificial intelligence is just the latest, ow, some bitch, it hurts. Artificial intelligence is just the latest robot to take the place of human jobs. Take the place of humans working. And they've fed artificial intelligence with all the information they could. All the information off the internet, all these books and magazines and articles and essays and the entire, the libraries of Congress. We fed it all into the AI machine. We fed all the movies and all the television and every scripted speech. We fed it all into the artificial intelligence machine so that it can generate things like ChatGPT. George was telling me he's got coworkers who admit that they never wrote a paper in college over the last couple of years because they've just been using AI. Now, I don't want anybody to get in trouble for that, for the record. I don't know these people. I don't know. That's like hearsay. Can't prove it. But I can see it happening. Like when I was in college, most of the people that I surrounded myself with would have absolutely used artificial intelligence to write their papers. I don't know. I was stoned a lot in college. I probably would have too. I didn't have the same ethics when I was young that I do today. And for that, everyone that I interacted with in the past, I apologize. You can't undo the past. You can't unscrew the light bulb, as they say. Or you can unscrew the light bulb, but you can't undo the past. God damn. I have succeeded. I'm sorry. I have failed more than I have succeeded, but my success rate has improved the older I've gotten. So all I can say is, sorry. I really am. I wish I were a better person from the get-go. I would lead a better life today. We all would. If we all led the life we knew we should have, we would probably be better off. It turns out having ethics in your everyday life, they help you sleep better. They help your health. We're in a bad moment. We're in a bad moment in history, and it causes me a great deal of anxiety. It causes me a great deal of stress. And the stress and anxiety that I used to, what it does is when you're under stressed and when you're anxious, your body reacts. When you feel stress, when you feel anxiety, your body reacts. Maybe it produces adrenaline. Maybe it produces different hormones, that the fight and flight response. It makes you try to address the stress and anxiety. Maybe you smoke cigarettes. Maybe you have a drink. Maybe you eat something. Maybe you're doing something. Maybe you exercise. You're doing something to inject, something into your brain, an opposing hormone to stop the stress and anxiety and to make you feel more normal. But we're playing yo-yo with our endocrine systems, and they're shot because we're stressed all the time. We're anxious all the time. We're trying desperately to overwhelm it. Sometimes it makes us obese. Sometimes it makes us drunks. Sometimes it makes us smoke every day. Sometimes we do drugs. Sometimes we exercise to the point where we kill ourselves. Sometimes you just can't take the stress. Sometimes you can't take the anxiety, and you don't know what to do. And that's what I have a red bucket for, so that I can go out and pick up trash. We're stressed, we're anxious, we know that things aren't going in a direction that's positive or good. I can tell you that no business has ever been cut. We've never had personnel cuts to excellence. That's not what happens. Losing expertise, losing intelligence, losing, experience is usually detrimental to the way businesses or governments or government agencies work. When you lose the intelligence, when you lose the human behind it, you lose that experience and you lose those ethics. You lose all of the information, all of the wisdom that person has acquired over their, however long they've been in that job. And their prior job, and everything that's happened in their lives that has led them to be the person that they are. We are replacing human beings with nothing and with artificial intelligence, which I think should be called artificial. Artificial productivity is what it is. That learned everything it knows from humans, from us. Think about that. We're trying to replace ourselves with something that does what we do, quote unquote, more efficiently. We want to trust the creativity of machines over the creativity of the human mind. Interesting, isn't it? I wish things were different. I wish things were better. I advocated for a democratic victory so that we could continue to grow and work toward a better tomorrow. But, that's not what, for whatever the number was, 49.4%, whatever it is. He won by 1.4%. He calls it the landslide, the greatest landslide. No, it wasn't a landslide. You squeaked by. Again. Last time, the last two times. At least this time, he quote unquote won the popular vote. He did. Congratulations. First time for anything, right? People were so angry. They still are. And guess what? He hasn't done anything to address inflation. Nothing. He's done some things that exacerbate inflation. He's crashing the market right now. I'm curious. Let's take a look. How is the market doing at 11:18 a.m. on a Thursday morning? It's down. The Dow specifically down 1.3%, which is 536 points. And in the last 5 days, it's down 1,667 points, 4%. That's people's pensions. That's people's 401ks. That's businesses' liquidity that allows them the investments that allow them to improve their businesses. We're just pissing it away because nobody knows what to plan for. Nobody understands what the hell his plan is. If he has one, he doesn't. He doesn't. Pain. It's all pain. I said this would be a shorter episode. I guess that's sort of true. I am running out of. I run out of intensity because I can't keep up with this kind of outrage for an extended period of time. It's really hard. But I wanted to answer George's question. What makes this moment in politics so important to talk about that you want to leave this for your kid? Because what I would love to hear, like if I could hear anything right now, if I could create a podcast from the past, I would love to hear what my grandfather and his generation said in the aftermath of World War II about how scared they were that they would have to do it again. I would love to hear what my mom would have thought of what's going on today. She died in 2018. She hated Donald Trump and his fake populism. My mom used to joke that if I ever wanted to learn how to lie, that I should come to her because she's told every lie and knows every lie, knows how to lie. And she can spot a liar from a mile away. And I remember her calling me in 2015 on the phone. She used to call me on the phone all the time. Every week I talked to my mom on the phone. I remember calling me in 2015. Did you see this idiot Trump? And he wants to be president. She said he just wouldn't stop lying in his announcement. That's never going to work. And it did. She was heartbroken. But she smelled him out from moment one. She said, look at him. He's orange. Nobody's that color. He's lying to you before he even says a word. Look at that hair. Look at how terrible that suit fits him. He lies to you from the moment you see him. He doesn't even have to say anything. He's lying not just to everybody else. He's lying to himself. My mom. I wish I had that on tape because I would love to hear it from her voice. And that's why it's important to talk about this the way we do right now. Because there'll come a time when there's, in theory, assuming that all of this isn't outlawed as anti-Trump propaganda, when free speech is done away with because we don't like what you say, so we're going to deport you. There'll become a time where that happens. Oh, wait. That's happening right now. A green card holder, a permanent resident, married to a United States citizen, was arrested for pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University, and they want to deport him. He's broken no law. They've admitted he's broken no law. They equate being pro-Palestinian to being pro-Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist group. Palestinians are the people, the innocents, the civilians. Palestinians have been there for a really long time. Whew. It's a hell of a thing. These are difficult moments. I'm sorry we have to go through them, but we do. And I'll keep doing what I do because this is what I have to do. Keep my sanity, to keep my stress and my anxiety at bay. and to feel like I'm doing the best I can, I guess. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Move to another state? I'll move to a swing state. You imagine me in Arizona? Oh, God. I hate it here. It's too hot. Is there a cooler swing state I can move to? Like Wisconsin? Ugh. Ugh. No offense, Wisconsin. Love the cheese. Good dairy in Wisconsin. Anyway, I didn't thank everybody for listening to Trent Takes On. I didn't even introduce myself. I don't know. I'm really bad at this, it turns out. Thank you for listening. And you can catch me on Blue Sky at Old Man Trent. That's Old Man Trent on Blue Sky. And true story, actually, I ran out of disk space. So I gave a full sign off that no one will ever hear because my computer stopped recording. So I had to erase some stuff so I could come back in and finish the episode. Trent Takes On is the name of the show. I'm Trent. Find me on Blue Sky at Old Man Trent. You can leave, what do you call them? Reviews, ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. You can do ratings and leave comments on individual episodes at Spotify, which is kind of a cool thing that they started doing a while back. Please share this with a friend who would enjoy. Or, I don't know, maybe with a friend who wouldn't. Maybe, well, of course, if you have friends that wouldn't enjoy this, I've got questions about your taste in friends. Because this is good shit. But I appreciate you all so very, very, very much. Thank you for listening. And I'll be back in soon. And my second project with George will be out there pretty quick. And I'll promo it here. And I'll promo it in this feed as well. So you'll get an episode no matter what. And we will talk to you very soon. I appreciate you all so very much. Love, peace, Bobby Sherman. I don't know. More than anything, be good humans. It's the least we can do. Until next time. Love you.